hard start.
Yeah, where we're
Man, now I'm scared.
well. Somebody mentioned this to me the other day. How we're talking about, oh, I didn't know what you heard in headphones because we've never done it this way before. So, anyhow, here we are, Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. Heck yeah, buddy. What is this, number 4 episode?
4.
Very cool.
So, and we're trying to get
Yeah.
high tech. It was
Well-
the least expensive high tech thing I could find on Amazon.
You know, I don't know if I'd say we're trying to look high tech more than just professional and that like we know what we're doing.
Well, we want to sound good, so I'm
just
kinda
just
glad-
pulling up notes. I'm not texting or anything like that. So
I'm kind of glad you wore that shirt.
how come you didn't want to be twinsies?
I
this
thought,
morning?
we'd probably be twinsies.
You know, I really honestly didn't know what the heck to put on this morning. And this one was the first one that was within arm's
there.
length on top of the dryer.
That's
So,
awesome. I know what those mornings are like.
It was easier to grab that one and then try to find the matching sock. So, you know,
We got teenagers at home that purposely wear mismatching socks. So,
oh, man, how's your week been?
really good. It was, it's kind of weird. A couple weeks ago we had vacation. It took me about 3 days of that week to get normal.
Yeah.
And I like normal for the most part. So this week was, we had a trainee all week, but he's a really good guy at my regular job.
Yeah.
So that was good. It went well. Training's gone pretty well. So
What is it? You mentioned something. I've had this conversation with a few people here over the last couple of weeks, but when you say a couple of days to get back to normal, what do you mean? Like physically into the groove? I mean, all of the above?
all of, I'm a very routine person.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to where I like vacation, but it's not routine. I don't get up at 4:30 every day or
Yeah.
4 o'clock every day like I would if I was at home and working. And I like working. I'm weird. I don't think I'm weird.
Okay.
I like what I do, and I like the routine of it.
Yeah, I laughed because I was gonna say, I don't think you're weird either. I think that like when you actually enjoy your job and love what you're doing, that you do like that routine.
Yeah.
Getting up, even though you still have good days or bad days along with your good days, but I get it. I do.
Well, and the end part of our vacation was it was Nashville, so late nights, still get up early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not, and it just throws everything off a little bit. So get a little older, it takes a couple days. I used to be able to do that. Come home on Sunday night, get up Monday morning, go to work, and I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't fine on Monday morning, but I didn't really hit my stride. I didn't feel like I hit my stride till like Wednesday that week. Just like, okay, now we're, and then I was like, okay, and then Friday's gonna roll around and the weekend back to what we do all the time.
I typically need like 2 days myself when I get back from vacation to physically and mentally get back into the game from vacation before I go back to work or anything.
And
I guess that
we
depends
came back
how
on a
hard I get
Saturday,
to.
and we got back Saturday about 11 o'clock. So that was nice because I had that afternoon to get things unpacked.
Yeah.
And then I had Sunday. So that was good. But yeah, I like my routine.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
And I can adapt to whatever.
Yeah.
Like this week on Thursday, my Fridays are local, and it's usually a pickup. But if I have a drop off, I have to go in an hour earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of my normal being there at 5, I have a drop off. I have to be to work at 4.
Yeah.
So I get, Thursday afternoon, they're like, hey, by the way, we got a drop off. I'm like, okay. So instead of getting up at 4, I get up at 3.
Yeah.
But that doesn't bother me at all. I'm like, well, it's all overtime for me by Friday anyhow. So I'm like, just extra hour of work.
Also, just talking about routines, fitness, it kind of goes hand in hand. When you make health a routine in your life, then it's a lot easier to stick with than it is if you're just kind of lollygagging and going with the flow and, I'll try to go work out this day or
Absolutely.
that day or whatever. So routines are good.
Yes. And to be good at most anything, most people need a routine.
Yeah.
jobs usually require a routine. Even a restaurant job, if you're a server, you never know when it's going to be busy or not, but your routine at the table is very similar for every table.
Mm-hmm.
You just adapt to, do they have kids, do they not have kids, you know, but like, you can equate it to just about anything.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know, guys building Boeing airplanes, they have their job, but they have a routine in the way they go about it. Like, this is how it's done. And then I'm sure that all that stuff is double checked, and that person's got their routine to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
Like, or at the auto plant, or wherever. I used to mow lawns for a living. And it's funny, Erica and I mowed the lawn yesterday. All of a sudden, she's like, you want some help? I'm like, well, you can mow, and I'll do the trimming of the edge. And she mows way differently than I do, but I still mow. Like, I could pull up to your house and put myself in landscaper lawn mowing guy mode, and I can look at it and be like, I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna end up back here, and everything's gonna be done. I'm not gonna backtrack. Because when you're doing that and you're mowing 30 lawns a day, well, do you want to walk 10 miles that day or 7? Well, and that's kind of, it's not like fitness, but it's like, yeah, I only want to walk 7.
Yeah.
Because I still want to work out afterwards. So, and I kind of explained that to her, like, when I pull up to a house, they're like, where's the tree? Where's this? What do I got to trim around? And how many, what's the most efficient way to do it?
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of how I work out too. Like, I have a plan in my head. We train, lately it's been push and pull upper body one day, and then legs and shoulders the next. We've been rotating them. But I'll have in my head, well, I'm going to start with this for chest and this for back. But sometimes you walk in the gym and that piece of equipment is being used.
Yeah, but you still have a plan, and you know when you come in that day what your plan of attack is going to be. You may have to deviate, but you got that plan, so you set yourself up for success. And then, what do they say? Failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yes.
So when you talk to a lot of people who just can't get going in their health and fitness journey, and you ask them, well, what does your plan look like? What's your routine look like? And they don't have one. Then that right there, immediately when I'm talking to somebody new that could be a potential client, I'm like, okay, well, this person doesn't have a plan to execute when they come in. So they're walking around, they're not really sure what they should or should not be hitting, so their workouts are inefficient. They're probably here for 30 minutes. 15 of that is probably walking around trying to figure out what they're gonna do because, again, they don't know. And
Right.
then...
No, absolutely. And you said one key word in there in the beginning. We talked about this the other day briefly. These people that can't.
Mhm.
I don't like that word. Can't and try are useless. And trying is okay, but having a plan that you're gonna do sets you up for success.
Yeah.
When I hear somebody say, well, I'm gonna try this, I'm like, well, they're already giving themselves an out.
Mhm.
Same thing with can't. No, you can. You just have to find a way.
I agree. I heard this guy on Instagram that I started following, and he's anyway, but you know, same stuff. But just last night, a reel I was watching, he was talking about the power that speech has, and the Bible even talks about that. How powerful our speech is. Words have meaning, and words are strong. And if you tell yourself something enough times, and you don't say it in the right manner, then your mind is going to adapt to the way that you're speaking. I have a very bad habit myself, and I don't think it's like, it's not an intentional habit because I am a doer, and I'm going to do it until I get it right.
Mm-hmm.
If I fail, I'm not going to stop because I'm not going to let somebody tell me I told you so. I'm going to keep going until I do get it right and I figure it out because that's just the way my mind is wired. But I do say when a lot, or if, like, if the company hits X amount of dollars in revenue, and I honestly I don't mean it like that because then I'll turn around and go, when it happens.
When we get there, and what do we need to do to get there?
But I have to catch myself saying that a lot of times too. Is, you know,
I think we all do that to some degree, in some way. Part of it's just a little bit of human nature, but just part of the reason you and I get along. So we're both driven, and you can
Yeah.
tell that. I can tell that about you immediately, after our first couple conversations. And if you're driven, you have a desire, and you want something, you go get it.
Yeah.
You do the work to get what you want. And I was going to ask you a little bit about training, like how your training's going for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I sent you a couple things to talk about. How is it going? And I know we talk about it a little bit randomly, but
so training is going really well. Where we should be at the point, and I think it's cool that we're talking about that, because it all boils back down to what we've already been discussing today, and that's having a plan.
Right.
When you're training for a show, you can't just lollygag it around and be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna, eat my macros today, but I have no idea what my meal plan is gonna look like." Now, that works a lot of time throughout the year if you're just, training to train. But once you get into that mode that you're actually training, it's going to sound wrong, I don't want to, but when you're training for a purpose, meaning you're training because you know you're going to do a show and you got to look the best that you can on that day when it comes around. If you don't have a plan, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. I had this conversation with somebody a couple of months ago, and this individual was training for a show, and so I asked him what his meal plans or what his meals look like, and he had no idea. And I said, what do you mean? Like, I'm really confused right now, because you say that you're cutting for a show, but you don't know what your daily meal looks like. And he's
didn't you know his calorie intake?
So that was the thing. No, not really. He's like, well, I'm just going based on my macros and entering them in, and then sometimes at the end of the night it sucks because I've got so many more that I've got to hit. I'm like, well, dude, so you're already setting yourself up for failure right there. If you're training for a show, for a competition, and you know what your daily calorie and daily macros need to be, there's no room for error. So at that point, you better damn well have a meal plan laid out, like it or not. I mean, some coaches that I know don't believe in meal plans because you're not teaching the person how to, you're not educating them on nutrition, and meal plans can't be followed because they suck, they're bland, and yada, yada, yada. That may be the case, but when you're training for a competition, you better have a meal plan in place, because there's no, oh, well, let me see if I can eat this today and blah, 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 and try to hit your, you need to know that everything you're putting in your body is what it's supposed to be.
You need to know how much chicken, how much rice,
well,
how much broccoli, or whatever, how much oatmeal.
I want to switch that around to, you're right, but you need to know how many grams of protein, or carbs and fats that you're putting in.
Yes,
you need to know your calorie intake, whatever that food is that you're eating that gets you there. But yeah, there's no room for, I'm gonna guess today. It's, your shit better be on point.
Yep.
So that way you know where you're dialing it into, because adjustments are gonna have to be made along the way, especially out of the gate when you first get rolling.
It's way more complex than somebody who's overweight and wants to do Weight Watchers. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. I agree. Nothing wrong with that.
For the majority of people, something along those lines works great. If you just want to, I need to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, whatever. Stuff like that works. But then if you take it to the next level of a bodybuilding show, physique show, then it's a whole nother ballgame.
Absolutely. So I was thinking about this morning as I was checking myself out when I got out of the shower, getting dressed, and I finally hit 8% body fat according to our body composition machine that we have here at the gym. And I do tell people a lot that, like, in my opinion, I think that 10 to 8% body fat, like maintaining that year round once you're happy with your physique is very doable. Like, I don't think it's that hard at all.
Right.
But again, that's just me. I'm wired different than most people.
Stay at 8 to 10%.
Yeah, in between 10 to 8, I think is like a realistic goal that people can hit if that's the way you like your body to look.
You can still have a cheeseburger once in a while.
You still, yeah. So,
absolutely.
and that's where my mind's going right now. So I'm like, damn, dude, I'm at 8%. I look great. I'm starting to get lean. 42 years old. It's gonna sound very conceited, but it is what it is. But I'm like, you probably look better than 90% of the other 42-year-old dudes in the United States right now.
Right. From a body composition standpoint.
Yes.
Yes.
Not my looks, because my mug is ugly, and I'm aware of that. I still eat 2,400 calories a day to hit that. Now, obviously, I have more muscle than most people do, so my body metabolizes and burns up a lot of those calories. But I'm not starving myself. It's hard work. It's watching what you put in. And tonight is cheat meal night, and that's where I was going. Because you said you could still have a cheeseburger. Dude, tonight I will probably eat, and I cook on myself at home because that's the way I like to eat anyways. Very rarely do I go out to a restaurant. And I will probably have a total of a pound of meat all together, cooked on 3 different burgers with cheese and bacon and tater tots, with cheese and chili on my tater tots, and then I'm gonna wash it down with the freaking red velvet cake tonight.
Do it up.
And you can do that as long as you're not doing that 3 meals a day, 7 days a week.
Absolutely.
So
now, I think a lot of people that are going to watch this and listen to us understand this, but for those that don't, Kyle's talking about he's eating 2,400 calories a day. The USRDA is always based around 2,000 calories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other side of what Kyle's doing is he's working his ass off in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
He spent 45 minutes yesterday doing cardio. So to get to 8 to 10% body fat, there's a lot of dedication and work that has to be put in aside from diet.
Yes.
Aside from eating quality foods, you have to put in the work.
And it's not easy to get there. So now I think it's easy to maintain, but I tell people all the time, getting there is hard. Getting there requires the discipline to put the fork down and not eat what you want to eat whenever.
Right.
You have to follow the plan. You have to stick with it. Now, once you get there and you bump yourself back up to your maintenance calories, then maintaining it is, in my opinion, very simple to do because you have more freedom and more flexibility.
As long as you have, we'll go back to the beginning, as long as you have the routine of the workouts and the cardio and eating good, big portion of the time,
yes,
it is easy to maintain.
Because you just can't say, oh, cool, I'm at 8%, now I'm going to go back to eating junk all the time the way that I used to. No, you still got to eat right. You still have to have a balanced diet. But you
can
do
live
honestly,
year round.
Yeah, but you still, I would say at that point, a couple times a week, easy. 1 to 2 times a week, then you have that room in your diet to have that cheat meal or reward meal or whatever it is that you want to call it.
I agree.
Then if you want a cookie, have a cookie. I'm serious. But so yes, I'm glad you brought that up because getting there is hard, especially
now if you're not there and you want to get there. Sometimes it's hard, but it's as hard as you make it. You got to cut back your calories. You got to eat quality foods like we've already talked about. And I think the hardest part really for most people is up in their head. I'm 4 workouts in this week and I can't see a change. No, you're going to see a change for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But then after 6 or 8 weeks, you're going to go, if you're doing everything right.
If you're consistent.
Then you start to notice the change.
Yes. It's not if you're consistent and you're doing things the way you're supposed to, not if you're being inconsistent, and on top of that inconsistency, sneaking into the pantry
Getting
every
in the cookie
night,
jar.
Getting in the cookie jar, exactly.
Yeah. You got to have self-control.
Yeah, and then and you're right, and then that's, I think, when people do give a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Where they just, at that point, they get down on themselves.
Well,
and
then
like,
they
oh,
have-
this is harder than I think it's got
I've
to
had
be.
numerous people, oh, I just can't do it. And I'm like, no, you can.
You choose
You're not
not to.
willing to, or you're choosing not to.
Yeah.
Like, well, I count my calories. Well, you're not counting right then.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I don't want to sound like a jerk.
No, you're
but
right.
It's
You're
just
right.
facts.
It is.
I've heard what is it? Oh God, the thing a lot of people have removed and then they gain weight.
Like thyroid or something
Yeah,
like that.
well, it's my thyroid, and I'm like, you know what? If you count calories and put in the work, your thyroid doesn't affect it that much.
Yeah.
Like, and my extreme of that is, listen, if you go down to 10 calories a day, I guarantee you're gonna lose some weight. Like,
And those 10 calories could all come from fat or chocolate or
at that
whatever.
point, yeah, I don't recommend doing that.
No,
It's not gonna be good
I
for
don't
you.
either. But you're right. The calorie deficit's a calorie deficit. And
Yeah.
that's what you have to do. And there's gonna be discomfort, man. In any growth. Wow, and I'm gonna sound like David Goggins or somebody else, other influencers on Instagram, but it's true. If you want something bad enough, there's going to be some discomfort, whether that's starting a business, losing weight, getting your body in shape. There's going to be discomfort that you go through, whether that's being at the calorie deficit or, again, on the business side of things, starting something, because it's hard, dude. And I'm learning firsthand over the last year and a half, dude. And I didn't think it was going to be sunshine and rainbows. I had no false images in my head that I was going to come out and be a rock star right out of the gate. But dude, you're going to suffer, and it's all part of the test in life to get what you want. Because at the end of that suffering, again, whether it's diet to get the results that you want your body to look like, or to get your business where you want it to be, the things that we go through make us stronger, better people.
Absolutely. And I've done the business thing. I started my lawn and landscaping business with a credit card and the thought that we're going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have good credit. I'm going to max this credit card out buying this equipment, buying these flyers. And I'm like, I want to do this. And I have one of my close family members like, you're crazy. There's a million people doing that, in the big city where I was. And I'm like, but they aren't going to do it as good as me, was my comeback. I'm like,
Yeah.
good luck. I'm going to make this work. And I did. I did it for 15 years. And I had a business partner, and him and I are still like best friends to this day. I'll see something, I'll send him a picture, it has to do with the lawn. When we went to St. Louis and we went to see the Arch, the grounds there were beautiful, but the edging on the sidewalk was horrible. I took a picture of it and I sent it to Addison, my business partner. I'm like, you can't take the lawn guy anywhere because they need to step up their edging game.
Yeah.
And it's been 15 years since I've done that as a business. But
back to the question at hand, as far as how prep's going. Prep is going good, but it's just like everything else. Like you said, you have to have a plan. You can't just wing it. You need to know when you're going in there. So every year, Megan and I do this. I think that Megan could be a pro at some point because she's 6 years younger than me. I think personally I waited too long to get into the game to become a pro. And I don't do this with any false notions of being a pro bodybuilder. I do it because it helps me stay disciplined and on point throughout the entire year. And I like challenging my body and putting it through the different phases of adding that little bit of weight and body fat to gain the muscle, and then pushing my body to the extreme physically and mentally to get down to that 4% body fat range to see the improvements that I made over the year. So I like the whole thing from beginning to the end. And so when those shows, they get usually in January at the beginning of every year, that's when the NPC and the IFBB will email out these are the shows this year. So in order for Megan and I to make sure that we're on point and we have that plan, we've already been training hard since our last show. So last year's show ended in August. We took a week off. We went to Vegas for a few days, ate, rested, came back home, and then we were right back in the gym the next week, starting to build again and being in that caloric surplus. But then in January, the show listings come out, and so then we say, okay, cool. What show are we gonna pick? Yeah. And so then we pick that show so we know, and then we'll backtrack.
How many weeks?
If we're gonna do a 20-week prep, boop, 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 boop.
When's it start?
April 1st is the day that prep starts. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Right.
And so you put that plan in place so that way you know
And
what
when
you're
prep
doing.
starts, it doesn't matter if your birthday's April 3rd.
That's right.
If prep started on the 1st, you're not getting birthday cake on the 3rd.
I don't know, man. It'd be a little tough now. I just told everyone I was going to down a red velvet cake
Well,
tonight.
but how many weeks into this are you now?
It won't matter. So it depends on the person. And I think today we're 11 weeks out from show. So that means I'm 12 weeks into it. I did a little bit longer for prep this year. So that way I could like just play around with numbers and stuff like that and make some minor tweaks along the way. It's taken me 12 weeks or however long it's been to get from the 13% body fat that I started at 235 pounds down to the 215 that I'm at right now at 8% body fat. So it's taken me a couple months to get where I am, but I'm right on track to where if things keep flowing now, because now my body's in that metabolism burning mode, then
Right, yeah.
shit just starts to, every week, there's
'Cause
change after change after change.
And part of this, the simple explanation to that mode too is he's putting in a ton of work.
Yeah.
And doing cardio, and his body fat's already at 8% without reducing his muscle mass. Muscles burn calories.
Yeah,
Even when
absolutely.
we're sitting here right now, our muscles are burning calories.
Mhm.
And when you don't have very much fat to burn, you're just
You're just
it goes quick.
incinerating everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. But where I was going with that, because you made the birthday cake comment. But you're right. I'm just teasing because I am having cake tonight. But on my birthday, my mother she called me, told me happy birthday, but she didn't even call and say, where do you want to go eat for your birthday dinner tonight? Because she knew I was in training.
yeah.
And I only have my one cheat meal per week, which I still do to replenish and give me a little extra boost from the deficit that I'm already in and the stuff that I'm not getting throughout the week. So I will have a cheat meal all the way up until
I was just gonna ask this.
probably
2 weeks out,
2 weeks out. And then
you
that's
really
when I'll
dial
stop.
it in. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so let's switch gears.
Okay.
Because I know we've talked about this. You're training for a show, and then you tweak something, you have a little injury.
Mm-hmm.
You had a little knee thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
So you got your plan, but you just had to change up your training a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect you? I know it affects you up here.
Yeah, I think
more
mentally it affects me more than it did physically. I mean, yeah, I've got to change stuff around. So I did something, and I'm not a go to the doctor kind of guy.
We're
but
so
after-
alike in many ways. It's
Yeah.
fun.
So after one of our leg days about a month ago, we did something, and then we got on the leg extension machine, and all of a sudden, like I could feel just sharp pain, like in my right kneecap. And I said, "Oh crap, that's not right. Something's going on." And then I had this like weird ridging, like the muscles behind my kneecap.
Yeah, you showed me
were
that
ridging
picture.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had that going on. My knee was hurting anytime I put pressure on it, like just to stand on it, walk up the step. It was like crap. I just felt that shooting pain going through. And so, yeah, dude, I mean, I'm blessed that here in the gym that the trainers and the experience and the knowledge that we have in here, I have guys that can actually look at me and help. So one of the trainers is used to be a physical therapist back in the day. So I was like, bro, I need you to look at my knee. So he starts digging around in there with his fingers, and he's like, well, you got a tear right here. And dude, my master's degree is in like program design. It's strength and conditioning. So
Sure.
I'm not one that's going to sit here and try to use all the fancy muscles and shit like that. You know, I made it through kinesiology 1 and 2.
I remember that. I remember 1.
I used the muscles that the verbiage that makes sense to me and to my clients without overcomplicating it. So there's a lot of things in the anatomy that I'm not even pretend to know all the names. But he's digging in there, and there's this muscle that wraps around from the backside of the hamstring and attaches to the patella, and it's the way that he and Charlie, one of our other brilliant minds that works here, and I wasn't saying that to be funny, it's a true statement. They were like, well, that muscle alone, it's like it's
not
as
very big.
thick as a piece of bacon, like as far as width goes. Yeah,
Okay.
very small muscle that just wraps around. They're like, the whole point of that muscle is if something happens and that muscle rips, it like shuts down the whole leg. Like you're not moving at that knee joint if that thing goes. So Chris is digging around in there. He's like, whatever the name of that muscle is, and he's like, you got a tear in there. I can feel it. I was like, okay, crap. What's that mean? He's like, honestly, nothing. There's not much that can be done for it other than you need to modify your routine.
Let it heal.
Yeah, get a really good leg brace so that way when you're doing legs, it keeps the pump or the blood in that area circulating more to help with the healing process. So mentally it messed with me because I'm not lifting as heavy as what I want to be, and then I've got to make all kinds of weird little adjustments. So instead of doing step ups, you know, with 95 pounds onto like a medium-sized step-up box, I've now dropped it to 30 pounds and
a shorter box,
a little bitty box just to keep the movement going. But you got to make those small adjustments, because if you don't, you're going to ruin it, or you're going to make it even worse, which I thought I almost did last week. And my wife Megan, who's also my training partner at certain times of the week when we're together, again, workout was going great. I said, oh man, cool, man.
Feeling good?
Yeah, feeling good. And it wasn't even an extremely large amount of weight, but leg extension again, pop, leg gave out. I was like, oh shoot. Still moving, okay. And Megan's like, look.
Dummy.
Yeah. Stop. Make the adjustment, meaning just leave this alone before your goofy butt tears something all the way and you're out for the season. So I had to listen to her and say, dang it, she's right.
You know, we touched on this the other day, which is why I put it as a topic to bring up today. And just in training in general, I've tore some things. Tore this pec really pretty bad when I was young, didn't have insurance. Ace bandaged it up.
Mm-hmm.
You almost can't tell. I can tell.
Yeah.
But you almost can't tell. I've had hamstring issues just from lifting heavy, but usually, I don't know, my mind is really in tune. I can feel it start to happen, I'll just drop it. Be like, oh, before it totally. I did tear this tricep off from the tendon and everything right off the bone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to get that fixed, or I couldn't even open my car door without the pain being like a 9.5. And I have pretty high. You can kick me and I'll tell you, well, that's a 2. But anyhow,
Kick like your daughter.
I think Chris is probably spot on. I'm not a medical person or anything like that, but like if you haven't torn it, let it heal.
Mm-hmm.
Will it probably be something you'll need to be aware of, perhaps going forward forever?
Probably. Yeah.
But as long as you're aware of it, then you can work around it.
Yeah, and so that's what we did. We
So
switched up the routine. And
right back to earlier,
here we
though.
go.
He didn't say, "Oh, I can't do this."
Well,
he said, "I'm going to find a way to make it work." Sure, sometimes you got to change things,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Yeah. We know we and I say we as like human beings, we all want something in life. Something like sounds really good, whether that's losing weight or again going back to starting a business. But unfortunately, when we find out how much work really has to be put into something, it's like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Screw that. You mean I gotta actually, to get a six pack, I gotta watch what I eat and work out? No, that's okay. Well, where's the Ozempic? Let me hit the easy button and
You know,
go get some semi.
no, that's so true. And I just watched a clip the other day. It's Branch Warren. Branch trained like an animal, and his little quote the other day. I'm probably not going to get it verbatim, but he was like, he's like, most of the bodybuilders that I competed against trained to be bodybuilders. He's like, I was a bodybuilder because I love to train, and I figured if I worked harder than everybody else, I could beat them. And that's his mindset. And I personally, there's times that I've trained similar to how he does. Like, let's go all out, especially when I was a little younger. I wouldn't necessarily recommend training the way he does unless you really know your body, because he trained like an animal. It's probably a miracle he didn't have more injuries.
Yeah.
But his mindset was, I'll outwork anybody. That's how I was with my business.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna make this work no matter what.
I was having a conversation the other morning with one of our members, great guy, small business owner as well, very successful. Don't want to get into the conversation itself, but it had to do with people, I guess, just having a sense of pride in what you do,
Yes.
And so in light of all this conversation we're having, yesterday morning he sent me an email, and it was like a short 6-page read, and it was, why are most smart people not millionaires? So the statistics on it is that yes, there are some millionaires that are smart, but there's a lot of smart people out there that aren't millionaires.
Sure.
And it's because it boils down to exactly what we're talking to. Not everybody has the drive and the discipline to hustle and grind and get through the hard parts to make shit happen. So there's more millionaires out there that aren't necessarily book smart because they've got the drive and know what they want and will get out there and not take no for an answer and make it happen until it does.
They figure it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That's like the Branch Warren thing, that me and my business, that I think when you look at people in general, there's X amount of them. Everybody's got some drive. But some people are here, some people are here, some people are here. Everybody talks about wanting to be here, but do they want to put in the work to be here?
It's hard.
And it is hard. I made more money and had more things, and I was younger and dumber. I should have invested more when I had my own business than I ever have. Now I'm finally getting to a point where I'm making pretty good money again, but now I'm investing. Like, I'm looking out for my future.
Absolutely.
In different ways than I did then. But it all takes hard work. Where I work now, I take a lot of pride in it. Like, when the big boss comes in, they're like, well, you're kicking butt. I'm like, I know. But I wouldn't be here if I wasn't going to be in the top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Or top 1. Like, that's just my mindset.
So I'm trying to keep from sneezing. When I started the gym, I got out of construction, pretty high up on the corporate ladder. And within the first month, one of my colleagues called me. He's like, "Oh man, how's it going? Blah blah blah. Working the 9 to 5 now, huh?" I was like, "Shit, dude." I mean, in construction, you work.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're working 14-hour days, 7 days a week, even if you're at home, because the phone is ringing with crap that's happening.
The emails coming in that you got to check or whatever. Yeah.
So I was like, dude, I'm working longer hours now trying to start my own business than I was working with you guys. So there's nothing easy about this shit, man. So
No, especially you with a new gym. Like I don't think people realize the amount of time that you put in.
yeah, that's with any business.
Any business,
if you truly love it and want it to be successful, man,
No, we did that.
you're gonna put the hours in to
We did
get it
that
where you
too.
want it to be.
Absolutely.
So
Yep. And then you get to a point where you get the right people, and maybe you don't have to work as many hours, but you still got to manage it all.
yeah, that's the ultimate goal. Is so someone was asking me the other day what success looks like. It's not a monetary thing. Straight up, I really honestly could care less. So for me, success will be, like, my measurement of it will be when my gym or gyms, multiple, my business and my company is running itself well enough and I have the right people in place that if I want to go eat lunch with my wife and not come back for the rest of the day and everything is still running as it should be, that's when I know I'm successful. I don't care if I'm only making $5,000 a month. If it's paying for my bills, and I don't mean like the gym,
Sure.
I just mean like
Yeah.
my salary.
Sure.
If my bills at home are paid for, my family's happy, we have food, our mortgage is getting paid, and I can still have the availability to say, I'm done for the day at noon, deuces, see y'all tomorrow, then I've become successful in my mind.
Right. No, and I think that's how most entrepreneurs look at it. Like, you have to. And you're helping people, you're doing a good thing for those people that want it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What else you got this morning, bud? Did we answer the questions about, I mean, we talked about the prep and that went down
Well, no,
a
just-
good rabbit hole, but
but, okay, you've gone from 235 to 215, you're down to 8% body fat.
yeah,
You got, 11 weeks ago, 12 weeks ago?
11.
So,
11.
obviously prep is going pretty good.
Yeah.
Despite an injury
Mm-hmm.
and getting it through his thick head, I've got a thick head. I would be the same way. My wife would be, she's still, to this day, I mean, I'm going to be 54 Friday. And there's days when we come to the gym and my knees are not in the best shape. And I've been pounding away at this I started lifting when I was 13.
Yeah.
And I've never really quit. So, you know, when I start, I'm feeling good, and I start throwing more weight on the bar when I'm doing squats or more weight on the sled, she just looks at me, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I feel good. She's like, well, how are you going to feel tomorrow? I'm like, well, I won't know if I don't do it.
Right.
And part of me's like, I feel good about doing it because I'm still thinking like I'm 20 or 30, knowing full well that something's going to ache the next day
Yeah.
more than I might like. But I just have that pain doesn't really bother me.
Mm-hmm. I know what you mean. I do.
It's like, that's part of, well, I put in the work. Now, I'm also getting to a point too, though, where I do have some pains that are starting to bother me on a more regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been really good lately about, I'm like, I'm not going above 2 plates when I squat.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to. I'll do 20 reps, but I don't need 300 plus pounds on the bar anymore. I can do the reps, and I got the muscle memory from years of doing crazy heavy stuff.
Mhm.
I'll be fine.
Someone asked me
But-
just yesterday morning, I think, and they're a regular here in the gym, and so they knew the injury thing was going on. And yesterday was leg day, so I had my brace on, and they asked me. I can't remember, but it's something you hear people say it a lot. Oh, when you're in your 40s and blah blah blah, you're gonna feel it more in your body. So that was kind of the conversation. I was like, dude, honestly, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, I'm 42, and people have been saying that like the last 5 years of my life. Oh, you're getting older. This is the first like injury that I've ever had, really. And it's not debilitating. It hasn't taken me out 100%. So I'm like, am I just being a wuss, or is this
I'm thinking
it's really an injury. But the point is, I'm like, you know, I don't feel that yet. I'm sure that in another 10 years, I will, as far as like the heavy weights being hard on my joints. And Charlie, one of our coaches here, and you know, training partner, friend, he watches out for me. We were hitting it really hard together at the beginning of the year.
I talked to Charlie just the other day,
and he was like, dude, I'm sorry, I can't keep up with you. I'm too old. He's only 52, but he was like,
that 10 years is a big.
I know, but he's like, you're, and Charlie's buff, dude. And I don't
Charlie
think
is.
I'm strong, or like I have a lot of mental issues that go on up here as far as my physique and my strength. But he's like, I don't know if we can work out together anymore because you're too strong. I can't keep up with you.
He didn't want to hold
blah,
you
blah,
up.
Blah. So he would always ask me though, like the next day, how your joints feel? Like after a heavy lift of having like 1,000 on the leg press. I'm like, I mean, yeah, I'm sore. I know we worked out, but it's not anything that's any more than usual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, maybe one day I'll understand.
Well,
what everybody's talking about.
Unfortunately, you probably will, is my educated guess, because my siblings are all a lot older, and I used to work with my brother doing chimney stuff, and I'm up on a roof as a young guy saying my knee aches, and Duff's 16 years older than me, and he'd be like, give it another 10 years. Well, here in the last 5 years, every once in a while we'll be talking, and I'm like, you know, you were right. It is worse. He's like, well, but again, sometimes I say, well, I've always done physical labor, and I have my whole life.
Farm boy, man.
Which is good for you.
Yeah.
But you kind of wear some things out doing that. But I will take that over sitting behind a desk and eating the way I eat, because I would be 100 pounds overweight if I had to sit behind a desk every day.
Yeah.
Well, it would be easy for me to get to that. I wouldn't let that happen. I put in more work.
You wouldn't, because you're still in here, but if you were sedentary all the time and you didn't work out and you had a desk job, yeah, absolutely.
And I know people, you know, and I look at them and I watch how they get around, and I'm like, well, my knee, it aches like crazy. It doesn't slow me down like it does them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful that I've done this.
Yeah.
And I always will be. And like I tell Erica all the time, like, I'll do this till I'm dead. Like, I'll be the 78-year-old guy in the gym, you know, with the dumbbells.
You be Tom?
I'll be Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we should, dude. That's the way that it should be, man. That's what bodies were designed and made to do, is work.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's sad that there's truth to this, and you know just as well as I do, but you have those family members, those people in your life that are in their 70s or whatever, and they finally retire and they stop moving and they go downhill health-wise. They decline very rapidly.
My dad was 56 when he retired, and he was dead at 58. Now, he had an aortic aneurysm.
Yeah.
But like, I'm never going to retire 100%. I may retire from I have this job now that I love, and if it stays the way it is, I plan on retiring from there. But we got this business that we do on the side now that we're growing. I'll be working more when I'm retired from the one job than I probably am now.
Dude.
But I like to work.
When I retire, I'm retiring, man. But that just means that even if I'm 75 years old, like we said, my ass will still be in the gym for 2 hours every morning, and then I'll be at a point in my life to where Megan and I can travel and go do whatever we want and enjoy life. But when I'm done working, man. I ain't gonna go to Walmart and get me a little part-time job.
Part of the reason we do what we do, I can do this anywhere.
Yeah.
As long as I have an internet connection.
Absolutely.
Which makes it way different than what I do for a living now.
Yeah.
So, we've been chatting for a while. We probably should wrap this up.
Cool.
We do have our raffle tickets and everything set up for the giveaway.
I saw. Looks good.
This is the shirt that we're gonna do the giveaway for. We have sizes for adult unisex fit shirts from small through 3X in stock. We can get 4Xs. Once it gets past 4X, our supplier doesn't have much.
I don't think we got too many
But I don't think we have
3X people in the gym, man.
No.
We had Big Wes, but I think even Big Wes has wiggled his way down to either a 3 or 2X.
Is that the guy? Yeah, he's done in the last year. I'm like, man, he's killing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if you're a member at the gym here, we're doing it on the honor system basically. But when you come in, there's some raffle tickets on the back of them. We'll have a pin out there. Put your name and your shirt size. You can put your phone number if you want to, but we're going to announce it in 2 weeks on our next podcast, whose names we draw.
Yep.
So, and we'll probably post it on Instagram. We won't make you watch maybe the whole hour, or maybe we will. We might sprinkle them throughout. We're entertaining.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, man. I mean, if you're driving in your car or you got a desk job and you're able to listen to podcasts, why not, man? Listen to the whole show.
And if you like it, give us a hit the like and send it to somebody you know.
Absolutely, dude.
So we're trying to grow this.
What'd you just say?
We're trying to grow this. We're growing this.
Okay.
Thank you. See, we said I do it too. Well, and it's funny. The other day I made a post. I was sitting there and I was thinking about it. And we're starting local, but we're going global.
I like that.
That's my Yeah, we're starting here because we have a great relationship, and but we're gonna blow this thing up.
Absolutely, we are.
So, again, raffle here. Get a ticket when you come in to work out. Put your name on it, shirt size. Throw it in the bin. In 2 weeks, on Sunday morning, when we do this, we'll draw names.
Yes, sir. Yep. Cool.
Anything else?
No, that's it, man.
Shut us off, crazy lady.